I was with the Trump motorcade yesterday, and I would say that the people at Versailles at the Cuban restaurant, I wouldn't call them cult members, would you?
No, the definition of a cult is a group of people who are excessively supporting one another and a cause, all about conformity and compliance and intolerance of anyone who doesn't agree with what their mission is. Okay, that's the definition of what the left is engaged in right now. Speaking of cults, all about conformity and compliance, and heaven forbid you don't agree with them.
So generally, if you're going to try to make the case that something doesn't apply, you don't then willingly define it in a way that makes it definitely seem like it applies. That, I don't even know if that's the best definition of a cult, but if that is your definition of a cult, then yeah, the MAGA people definitely fit under it. They're not the only ones. Can you make the case that there are some people on the left that fit under this? Sure, for movements, maybe in some cases for people. Is it broadly applicable? No. The sheer volume of left on left fighting politically should probably be an indication that dissent is allowed. But for the MAGA people, the idea that conformity and being way too zealous about a person, being completely unable to see their flaws, being conned by them to hand over money that you're ill-equipped to give up, not accepting the reality of a situation, believing that they can never fail, being willing to put your body, your life on the line to defend the great leader. That is very much stuff that is true of the MAGA movement. Viviana, what do you think?
I think where we really delve into some cult-like behavior is the fact that the MAGA movement is also really getting intertwined with religious extremism. And their ideologies are really becoming, married quite severely, and we're seeing it all over the country. These movements that are marrying politics and religion. So we're really seeing it more solidified as a cult now. Like you said, on the left are there. I would argue that how involved you are in politics, whether it's the DNC or the GOP, it is rather cult-like. This two-party system, and you're over there wheeling and dealing in DC, you got to toe the party line. And I think that's dangerous on any side of politics. And so, here on this program, for instance, sure, do we share a lot of the same ideologies? Yeah, but I've also come over here and blasted Nancy Pelosi many times. I'm not a fan of hers and never made it a secret. Nobody's here is gonna say, get her off the show whenever. You guys are encouraging discussion. We wanna be, we want to question things. And I think that's not allowed in MAGA. It's either you are wearing the red hat or you're not. And yeah, any political extremist is going to fall into those cult-like ideologies. So it's not immune to the left, but it's definitely happening on the right.
Yeah. Just to clarify, I'm not a big fan of Nancy Pelosi. Some people are gonna be like, wait a second, does John love Nancy Pelosi? No,
I'm not saying you are. But she's on the left, supposedly.
Well, according to Republicans, she's on the left, not according to the left.
Arguably.
Anyway. But if you are on the left, get used to people telling you what side you're on, who you like, and what you support. You're not allowed to choose for yourself, unfortunately. Yes, so look, in terms of the way that she defined the cult, I think that it's accurate. And I don't just mean that they're intolerant of the left, even their definition of the left. I want to be very clear. I don't think that necessarily means that you're a part of a cult. Plenty of Democrats don't like Republicans. I mean that the MAGA people are incredibly intolerant of people on their side that diverge mildly from orthodoxy. Yeah. And people who have spent years building up what one would think is a bank of cred that you could rely on if we disagree on something. Ron DeSantis dared to run against Donald Trump, and for many Republicans, that's it. They're done with him. He has only spent the last couple years trying to own the libs and spreading nonsensical conspiracy theories about vaccines and all that. He buys the wall stuff, he's doing all the MAGA stuff, but he turned against the great leader, so he must die. Anyone who turns against the great leader, even slightly, is completely burned. That is utter intolerance. And now there's generalized intolerance too. What does the term Bud Light make you think of these days? Or Dylan Mulvaney and all that. We know how intolerant they are of people who go against their orthodoxy, but I'm saying it's even inside of their own movement. And Again, they're not the only movement like that, but it is obviously the biggest one. Biden has fans. Biden has deranged fans and deranged influencer supporters, but I don't think Biden has a cult of personality like Donald Trump. I don't think Hillary Clinton, who I think was more popular in some ways than Biden, I don't think that Hillary Clinton had a cult of personality like that.
I think the difference is the cult on those sides is really the DNC. That's what people are feverishly following. Whereas in MAGA, it is Trump. And we can see it evidently with this lack of conceding for the election. I mean, you could tell them today, years later, Biden's been in office for 4 years, and they're still saying he didn't win. So that is the kind of mindset where the lack of rational thought stops. That's when you start to drink the Kool-Aid, so to speak. That's such an ugly analogy. It really poor.
Yeah, I'm not a fan, necessarily a fan. But also, and you reference this with the sort of like the gradual infusion of religion, which definitely is true for organized religion, but also for unorganized sort of new age conspiratorial religion.
Yeah.
Like the development of QAnon and that mythology, which has just now become part of MAGA. Like the MAGA people believe that everyone on the other side are pedophiles. They're all trying to eat your kid's brain and stuff. They all believe that insane stuff. They all believe that Donald Trump is here on a divine mission, that the storm is coming and follow the plan. Like you don't have to make the case that the QAnon thing is a cult thing. That's how it's organized. That's what it's for. That's why it's succeeded. So anyway, Sarah Palin made a great point there, just not necessarily the one that she intended to.
For more political news breakdowns, interviews, stories of activism, and me trying my hardest to care about the occasional big celebrity news story, subscribe to our YouTube channel at youtube.com/The Damage Report. And you can ring the bell wherever it is so you don't miss anything.